Substance and accidents. Aristotle, Aquinas, and the Eucharist. Good afternoon. Today I want to explain a philosophical distinction developed by Aristotle and later adapted by Thomas Aquinas in Christian theology. It is the distinction between substance and accidents. If I paint this chair a different color, is it still the same chair? Most of you would say yes, it's got new paint, but it's still the same chair. Now imagine I take the same chair and burn it to ash. Is it still the same chair now? Most of us would say no. Something more fundamental seems to have happened. I'm using this chair as an intuitive way into a philosophical problem, not a complete account of it, but it gets us to the right question quickly. What changed and what remained? That question turns out to be one of the oldest problems in Western philosophy. It matters because every one of us constantly makes judgments about change, identity, and what makes something the thing that it is. Today I will explain Aristotle's distinction between substance and accidents, show how Thomas Aquinas develops that distinction, and illustrate how he applies it, explaining the Catholic doctrine of Transubstantiation. Let's begin with substance. Aristotle does not mean substance the way we use the word in chemistry or biology. Instead, he is asking a deeper question. What is this thing? What kind of thing is it? In his book Categories, Aristotle identifies what he calls primary substance, the individual thing itself, like this particular person or this particular chair, as the most basic sense of what something really is. Notice that Aristotle focuses on the thing itself, not its color, not its size, not its location. In the Metaphysics, Aristotle treats the question of what a thing fundamentally is as the primary sense of being itself. Substance is not simply whatever happens to stay the same. Substance is the most basic reality that other properties belong to, like a person or a car or a chair. Substance answers the question, what is this? If substance is what something is, accidents are properties that belong to a thing without being what the thing fundamentally is: color, size, location, position. Aristotle groups characteristics like this separately from substance, treating them as real properties that belong to a thing rather than the thing itself. So if you paint the chair blue, the color changes. The substance is still the same, but the accidents may have changed. Move it to another room, the location changes. Turn it around, its position changes, but it's still a chair. Substance is what a thing is. Accidents, therefore, are what a thing has. So the substance is what a thing is, accidents what a thing has. The accidents depend on the substance, but the substance does not depend on the accidents. This distinction remained one of philosophy's most important concepts for centuries. Then someone found unexpected use for it. Fast forward to the 13th century, Thomas Aquinas was trying to provide precise philosophical language for Christian theology. Aquinas did not invent an entirely new philosophical system. Instead, he drew extensively on Aristotle's Metaphysics. As the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy puts it, Aquinas' metaphysical thought follows a modified but general Aristotelian view. Modified, not copied. Aquinas adopts Aristotelian concepts while developing them within his own philosophical and theological framework. In the Summa Theologiae, Aquinas devotes question 75 to examining a very specific application of this distinction. Therefore, what exactly does he say happens? Catholic theology teaches that during the consecration of the Mass, a real change takes place. Before consecration, the substance is bread and wine. The accidents are appearance, taste, and texture. The appearance of bread, the taste of bread, and the texture of bread. After consecration, the substance is the body and blood of Christ. Yet the accidents remain. Appearance remains, taste remains the same, and texture remains the same as the bread. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, quoting the Council of Trent, describes this as a change of the whole substance of the bread into the substance of the body of Christ, and calls this change transubstantiation, or the change of substance. Two important clarifications. This is not being presented as an ordinary physical or chemical change, and Aristotle's philosophy is not being presented as proof that the doctrine is true. As philosopher Joshua Hochschild argues, recovering Aquinas' understanding of substance is not primarily about proving the doctrine, but about making the doctrine intelligible so that we understand what is actually being claimed. The goal here is intelligibility, not proof. So Aquinas uses philosophical vocabulary to articulate a theological claim, not to prove it. That distinction matters whether or not you personally accept this doctrine. Let's return to the chair. Paint it, and most of us agree it's still the same chair. Aristotle gave us a vocabulary for describing that judgment precisely. Aquinas later adopted and developed that same vocabulary to articulate one of Catholicism's central doctrines. So today we have looked at substance, accidents, Aquinas' transubstantiation. Whether or not we accept the theological conclusion, the philosophical distinction remains powerful. So the next time something changes in your life, it may be worth asking, is that a change in what it is or a change of what it fundamentally is? Thank you for listening. These are my references.